I was homeschooled a lot, all around the world, traveling lots as a kid. My dad ran a circus, and within that chaos and that movement, the only controlling factor I had was a sketchbook. You get volcanic winters that changed the whole like planetary systems. The last time it happened, there was the Great Depression over in Ireland. It changed the art within the scream. That's all from a volcano erupting in Indonesia. So it dropped the whole planet by 6 degrees. The air around was glass, and then from that, you've got erupting magma like shooting into the atmosphere, and you've got ambient occlusion like bouncing off all of the glass, so the whole atmosphere is illuminated. And then from that you've got sonic booms which are punching like halo void space through illuminated atmosphere, and when they hit you, all the hydrogen in your body goes it's some of the wildest things I've ever experienced, and that's what I was like, I'm hooked now.
Before we get stuck in this episode, I just want to thank you for being here. I started this platform to spark conversations that inspire, creatively, professionally, personally, and everything in between. So if you want to support the mission, the best way is to subscribe or follow, whether you're watching or listening, or in a more tangible way with unofficial goods. It's a range I designed with artists in mind, and you can find it over at futurehistory.co. This will help other creative minds discover us and ensures that you won't miss any of the incredible guests we got lined up. Because when this passion is shared, it grows exponentially. So thank you, and now let's get into it. And this is by no means meant to be offensive, but like how someone will go to Nepal and climb a mountain, right? Like I'm gonna go do a tour.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I didn't really get the scope, the enormity of the scope, where you were actually like well deep and heavily invested in so many ways, and just even from a research point of view. So then when we get into that, and like it just piqued all these different and pinged different parts of the brain. We're like, oh my God, this is just gonna go off on all kinds of tangents.
I definitely started off like that. Initially, just being like, I want to go here. I want to go experience this raw power, and then from there, I started taking samples and cataloging and analyzing what's happening, taking sonic readings, geophone recordings, and then when the Tokyo University Earthquake Research Department approached me like, how do you know how to catalog all this data? And I was like, I don't know, just this is the way I thought it would work.
So you just started doing it?
I just started doing it. I kind of like brute forced my way in a strange manner, but then now it's definitely coming into more focus and evolving.
So you map it out. So you speak with, I guess, like geologists, or do you already have, I guess, like that acumen to know?
I work with a few teams. It started off 3 years ago. I went to Mount Yasser in Tanna, in like southern Vanuatu, and spent 3 months in a treehouse collecting samples and sonic recordings and LiDAR scans of the active caldera there. And when I was there, the vent blocked. So there's 3 vents. When one blocked, a large amount of like ash and material started getting ejected, and it went downwind and covered 3 or 4 villages. People had to evacuate.
Oh, geez.
But all the seismology towers and stuff were down because the geohazards department in Vanuatu has no funding. So then I was uploading all my data to the geohazards department. Then a team of 9 scientists from Tokyo University flew down and met me in my treehouse, knocked on my treehouse door in the morning. Well, how's Amos? And I'm like, what? Like, I haven't even heard anyone. I haven't been speaking to anyone, let alone speaking to people in Japanese. And then, from there, we collaborated on a few research papers, and then now I work with them in different locations, like Vanuatu, Japan, and various other volcanoes.
So then, like with that said, your art almost comes secondary to the extracurricular.
Yeah, the art's like a byproduct, I guess. I mean, it feeds back into itself. So I was always interested in geology and the building blocks of ecosystem as a muse within practice. And then slowly I just became more obsessed into the details of how and why these inner earth functions sculpt all ecosystems, including civilization. And then through that went deeper and deeper and deeper, and now the art is a byproduct of that kind of immersion.
Dude, it's one of those things, man. You can just start literally and metaphorically start digging.
Yeah.
And then how do I not go into too many puns? And then just start like unearthing, right? And then it's like I have this thing that I do with my son where we try to implement like this sense of curiosity where you can just pick anything, right? A random thing, and just start questioning it and picking it apart. And then it could just be down to like a blade of grass. Let's figure that out, right? Like really analyze it. Like, firstly, fucking why, right? Why and how do we even have grass? And then you can just go down to like environmental and soil systems, what's going on in the soil. So much shit is going on in the soil.
Yeah.
And then subsoil, and then you can just keep going down, all the way down to, I guess, like mantle.
Yeah, and then inner mantle, and then, you know, the fluid dynamics of the iron core that governs the magnetic systems, that governs our gravity, that governs our, you know, entire planet stability.
And then you think so much of this has to go right for everything to work.
It's pretty delicate systems. Stacked on delicate systems.
Yeah. I was watching this video where it was like an hour-long video that went through the whole history of the Earth and how it all just came about from like a couple of little bits floating through the air in space and just colliding and then accumulating more mass, like just by happenstance. Enough to then start creating its own gravitational force. I'm paraphrasing and really like making this sound stupid, but this is 4.5 billion years worth of little things going right until we get to this point, and it's just like, fucking like how?
It's pretty wild. Recently, I was on an expedition in Kirishima, working with a team of like 12 Japanese scientists doing a magnetic survey and a LiDAR survey of Shinmoidake volcano. And one of the people that were there was this one of the founding, you know, pioneers of inner mantle convection. And he builds like nitrogen-cooled supercomputers and runs like fluid dynamic systems on, the inside of the core, and not just our planet but all planets, and how all planets stay like functions from inner mantle convection and like liquid iron governing planet stability as a whole. Some of the most interesting chats.
So, as in how it regulates climate?
Yeah, or how it bonds planets together, and how the magnetic field that's generated from the
and it's pulling everything to the core.
Pulling everything to the core, also giving us, you know, like not last night, the night before, the Aurora Australis. We're seeing, you know, the torus from that inner mantle, the magnetic field systems, and then the sun's like UV bouncing. Like, it's pretty crazy. It was amazing. We were down in Cape Shank watching it. It was stunning.
It's pretty lights. And it's happening quite a lot, dude. Like, I reckon, like, it's something that it just felt like it was just never really heard of, other than just the Northern Lights. You hear about that, and people always go on the adventures to go immerse themselves in that. But the ones that are happening down here, I didn't even know that existed up until just recently, and it's just like happened a handful of times in the last couple of years already.
It's I feel there's more solar flares now, or there's more social media.
Okay, all right. So it's a social media thing.
I think it's a mix. Like,
oh man, yeah, it is just fascinating, man, and just to see how you can go from having an appreciation for all of these like massive things and having an understanding of how little things make up these massive things, and then translating that into art, and it's almost like a distillation of it, you know, and it's the way that you apply it. You can definitely see that that translation, and even just like following your Instagram for a bit of time now, I just love just seeing the adventures out and the I guess like the volcano chasing, and you can definitely see how it all comes back around into the art.
It's a fun process of trying to, like you say, distill down large planetary functions, or even, you know, really detailed smaller functions within geology and, you know, terraforming and world building into more digestible formats. Recently, I just got my syllabus approved for the university in Vasa. So in 10 days, I go there for 4 months and teach 140 fourth-year students this new program that I've just written. So it's communication and technology within art science. So analyzing large data sets and then whittling them down into more digestible formats, and that can be used like interdisciplinary or from specific fields to the public, and making it more digestible for people to absorb.
Hang on. Let's go through it again. So it is
Sorry.
teaching. No, that's fine. Only because there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
Right. So you're talking about the relationship between data science and art.
Yeah.
So it's
Using art as a vessel to explain large scientific data in more digestible formats.
Right. Can you give us examples of how that's been used today?
It's used, say, for example...
Sorry, when you say art, you mean expressive art, like what you do?
It can be visual, can be sonic, can be anything.
I get you.
Yeah. But just using that as a delivery system that makes it more approachable for people that aren't used. Some people are driven by numbers, some people are driven by movement, some people are driven by feelings, some people are driven by sonics. Everyone has their different absorption system, and if you can kind of tailor that through art, I think it's a way more efficient way to deliver larger data sets. They're usually kind of
and it's just a way of probably not necessarily just trying to convey what the data sets are telling you, but it adds that element of fascination to them. You're seeing how you can just get a speaker, put a plane, just a bit of perspex on top of it, throw some sand on it, and these beautiful patterns.
You get cymatics, yeah.
Yeah. That to me is just it's a visual representation of an auditory form.
Yeah.
Right? So it's one for one.
Yeah.
And I will look at that and I'll be like, fuck, that looks wicked. But then someone else who is, yeah, you're right, more musically inclined will be like, it was already wicked before you had to see it. Or they could already visualize it.
Yeah. Synesthesia or...
Yeah.
Everyone has their weird... The human brain is pretty complex.
Yeah. Synesthesia is something that I became aware of much later in life. And upon hearing what it was, I was able to connect the dots back and realize that something that I had in my own version of it was numbers and colors.
Oh, cool.
And so I still remember now, the number 2 and 3. 2 was red, orange was 3, but I think they only had those colors when they were side by side. And 4 and 5 was blue and orange, but again, they had to be in that particular order to have those colors.
Crazy. It must be fun to do times tables with Pantones.
Effectively like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's less, I guess, it's less prevalent now. But I think that also comes from just a whole bunch of other shit that's just been going on in life. The more that you learn, you seem to also strip away some of the freedoms of just creating for the sake of it. You know what I mean?
It's a tricky one. It's like sitting in that child state of creation, that innocence, and not letting your, money or, the fear kind of take over, which is what most of our consumer world is governed by, is coin and fear.
Yeah.
And letting that get in the way of creation it's a tricky dance, running a sustainable system as an artist, and not letting those interfere with your practice and your internal creative structures.
Yeah, especially in a culture and society that says that they're all about it, but really don't show up to support it, and the actions don't match the words.
Totally.
But dude, you had a pretty interesting background and upbringing from what I've been told. So I don't think that you came from the same. Your origin story is not as conventional as anyone else's.
No, not really. I was homeschooled a lot, all around the world, traveling lots as a kid. My dad ran a circus. He's a handstand master. And, we're China, Belfast, America, all throughout Asia. Yeah, lots of movement as a kid and lots of exposure to lots of different ecosystems and lots of different people and cultures, and fully immersed in the global condition of human and nature. And within that chaos and that movement, the only controlling factor I had was a sketchbook, and sketching as a kid and analyzing the natural world as a child was the only constant I had any control over. So then from there, my practice expanded from just analysis of ecosystem, and then to what it is now, which is basically I'm doing the same thing.
Man, all right. So when you're talking about different systems, different different cultures, and humanity in all the different contexts, you will have this lens where you're able to distill it down to real simple forms, and you've brought it right back down to like the connection with Earth, right? And just how we. That's fucking like I'm like as I'm talking, I'm connecting all these dots, and I'm making sense of everything that I've kind of observed from Benjamin Nock, and just seeing how all of this, like, oh, okay.
I mean, like, we all come from underwater volcanoes. All life does, from early mitosis, and then from that, how geology and geophysics governs civilization, and creating these stable pockets, all these unstable pockets, and for years culture's always formed around volcanoes because it's some of the richest nutrient-rich strata to propagate from. But yeah, it's funny looking on a larger scale how we're all governed by those kind of forces.
I was even something as simple as I don't know how true this is, but how property prices in the West versus East. It's always cheaper in the West, and that has stemmed from us having to travel to and from the city with the sun in our eyes in the commute to and from if you're from the West. So as a way of avoiding that, the more affluent people were able to take over the eastern suburbs where they didn't have to deal with that nonsense.
I like that theory. That's good.
Yeah. And to me, that makes a lot of sense, right? Like a lot of these things just go back just to like how we are governed by a lot of these natural forces.
Yeah, it's that's an interesting one. I'm gonna put that in my think.
I don't know how true that is, but man, it makes sense. So let's just keep that as a truth.
Yeah, totally.
I want to talk a bit more about this trip to Finland that's coming up. Now, the people that you're speaking to, do they have a background in science, or are these artists?
So the heads of it's between communication and there's a bunch of different people I'm working with. The fabrication labs, so 3D printing, 3D modeling, sculpture, which is a mix of science and art. But then there's the communications team, which the university's built up of a few different specialties, but one of them is geoenergy, and they've also got a space lab there as well. So on Wednesday next week, I've got a meeting with the director of the space lab and a meeting of the director of the geoenergy department. And I'm going to use their data sets and basically the keys they have to their analysis systems, and then work with the chosen group of students to then work out ways to deliver their information easier.
Right. Okay.
So it's like communication, data, and art, essentially.
Communication, data, and art. So communication would live right in the middle of that.
That's the kind of bridge. It's fun. I've also just been commissioned to build a museum out there, which should be a lot of fun. There's 5 rooms with new marble, black floors, bluestone walls. It's stunning. But it's going to be in 10 days jumping straight into minus 35 degrees, pouring lots of molten brass, and melting some rocks and doing all kinds of fun alchemy.
That's one of those things that I just don't feel like that here in Australia that there will be many opportunities to explore those kind of things. I guess geographically, Finland would be the place for it. When you're talking about extreme conditions, extreme climates, and being at the mercy of the environment, that's really the place for it.
It's pretty, the hyperpolarities within weather. It's pretty wild. I've been there twice before for midsummer. So I got sunburnt at 2 a.m. painting a mural like 2 years ago, which was quite a bizarre concept. The sun didn't go down for 3 days.
Fucking hell.
It just like looped, and slowly, the oscillations got wider, and then it went down eventually. But it only went down a little bit, then back up.
Jesus, how did you feel in that?
It was very strange.
Yeah.
Very, very strange. I spent a lot of time up in, Lapland region within Iceland and stuff, only in winter. So like when we were in Iceland, we went and mapped all the ice caves. I was there for a few months. You're getting 3 hours of sunlight a day. So shooting and trying to fly drones and trying to use scanners when you've only got like a 72-hour window. I mean, Like, I mean, sorry, not a 3 hour window. It's it gets interesting. It's a good challenge for
Dude.
light.
I even think like that to me, that condition is not habitable. That'll be. I mean, like I'm sitting in a space where I was just saying that we're either going to deal with things being a little bit too warm, a little bit too cold. I want to adjust the air conditioning now just to be the exact half degree that I need it to be. And to think that there are some people that would endure days of daylight or days and months, weeks and months of no daylight. And for them to be like, yeah, that's just life. I'm like, I don't know, man.
I mean, Australia's pretty, like, there's some extremes, but the further you go north and south to the poles,
Yeah.
it fluctuates a lot heavier. It's going to be a strange one jumping from, the other day, buying thermals in 38-degree heat during the fires, and then them looking at me like, what are you doing? And then going in 10 days to minus 35. It should be a good jump.
Have you been to climates that cold?
I've never been that cold before. Iceland was probably the coldest, but I'm from that region. I've got Viking blood in me, so
Okay, you're relying on that.
I don't mind the cold. Like, I'm used to it.
Had this friend of mine, she while at uni. This is going back to when we had the Black Saturday, the bushfires, and that was at the at the start of the university year. And a friend of mine, she had a university mate, and he came from Norway. And at the time, wherever he was before he arrived in Australia, was minus 30.
Oy.
So he had, within 24 hours, he endured a 75-degree swing in temperatures. He went to shock.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is even. I don't know how your body could even manage that, man.
His thermometer would have gone. Whoop,
I wouldn't know.
Flip, yeah.
You wouldn't know. You wouldn't even know. Like, you wouldn't even be able to register what is actually happening.
I think it takes a while to acclimate. Like, a few years ago, we were saying I went to Iceland. I was in Vanuatu before then. And then going all the way.
Shit.
It's kind of like as far as you can go.
Dude, so you just spend so much of your time just going from extreme conditions to extreme conditions. And when I say extreme conditions, I don't necessarily mean like I'm chasing a volcano and then now I'm going to, minus 30 degrees. It's even just experiencing and immersing yourself in jungle.
Yeah.
And that'll be extreme. I'm putting that as an extreme.
It's the last few months with this recent expedition to Ambai, to Monaro volcano, which is last time it erupted 4 years ago. There was 38 days of volcanic night on the island, and 6,000 people had to evacuate.
Volcanic night just being there's just a lot of ash in the air that just.
So when specific types of volcanoes erupt, and tephra, which is basically glass, 69% glass from this volcano, goes into 5 k's up into atmosphere, then the sun's rays can't come in. So then it's, that's why you within Tambora or you get volcanic winters that change the whole like planetary systems. The last time it happened, there was the Great Depression over in Ireland. It changed the art within the scream. That's all from a volcano erupting in Indonesia. So it dropped the whole planet by 6 degrees. But on a smaller scale, like what happened in Ambai, all the chickens went into the trees and never came down because they thought it was nighttime. Then they died in the trees. All the animals went into nocturnal mode because obviously they're governed by the 24-hour cycle. And like listening to interviewing some of the village chiefs and people that went through it, they said it was intense. Waking up with 2 foot of ash on your house and everything just crumbling and everything just. It was pretty intense. But hiking through those jungles, because Monaro is the largest current emitter of SO2, you have to wear a full face mask. And you're doing 40 Ks with 35 kilos on your back, 20 on your front, have to carry all your water, in a gas mask, sleeping in a gas mask, and in a caldera next to an acid lake with of a pH of 1. It was an interesting experience.
What are you there for?
To take scans and samples. And geophone recordings, and making last 4 years. Been collecting footage for a new film series. It should be fun.
It is. It is like so far out of comfort zones, and wanting to experience like the enormity and the severity of and it's completely uncontrolled. And I think that's one of the things, right? It's completely unpredictable, where you see it as like, you know, there's that term, it's a natural disaster rather than like a natural phenomenon, which it is, right?
Yeah.
Like it's something that should be appreciated for that, but like it's just the pure power and the devastation of it. It's something that I think we just have too much respect for as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, but watching like the chaos and death that, you know, volcanoes and tsunamis and earthquakes bring, but then also the duality of that within 60 years of, you know, volcanic soil bleaching its acidity, it becomes the most, you know, nutrient dense substrate in the whole planet. So it's that, you know, reciprocity cycles within that feed back into each other. Also, like recently I got invited to a volcanic survey in Unzen in Nagasaki, where Maurice and Katia Kraft, I don't know if you've ever seen The Fire of Love and the documentary about those two French volcanologists that travel around the world analysing volcanoes and shooting some of the most amazing footage ever. Yeah, recently, like 2 months ago, got invited to Unzen to hike to the top of the lava dome where they died. And it was incredible. It's like wild. Working with a team of scientists from Kirishima University. It was cool. But yeah, raw, and watching how much that Mount Unzen has changed that whole, all the cities in the flanks. There's a lot of terraforming going on. A lot of, you know, lahars and lava flows and big changes over the last 600 years.
The more we talk about this, the more the art just feels very, very secondary, man.
It started off as the main focus, but now
that was actually, that's the thing that kind of like caught my eye. And this is going back a couple of years, right? And not really getting a grasp of, or not really understanding what the story was behind it. And then over time, I was like, okay, I see what's happening here. But I never really understood the depths of it up until a minute ago. It's truly fascinating. And, you know, when you trying to, even just from reading in books, I don't think it conveys just the power or the enormity of how extreme the world can be. And I think a lot of it is because of that, right? Just the comfort of being able to sit down and watch a Netflix documentary on it or read a book about it. I think it doesn't do it justice, but at no point do I ever, this is just with the utmost respect for it, could I ever put myself in a position to be like, I want to check this out, man. It's a lot, man. And then to take all of that, your learnings, your appreciation for it, and to put it into art and then put it in a gallery, it's almost, it's ironic. You know what I mean?
It's a fun journey. Once you pop, you can't stop. Like, I still remember the first time I saw, you know, like I said before, in Tanna in Mount Yasser, the vent blocks. So the air around was glass. So it's 69% glass. And then from that, you know, you've got, you know, erupting magma, like shooting into the atmosphere, and you've got ambient occlusion like bouncing off all of the glass, so the whole atmosphere is illuminated. And then from that you've got sonic booms which are punching like halo void space through illuminated atmosphere, and when they hit you, all the hydrogen in your body goes pfft. It's some of the craziest shit. It's some of the most illegal physics in the world.
Sonic booms from the actual eruptions?
Yeah. So it's got a vacuum system of like when the lava chamber empties and then poof, and you get sonic booms punching through this illuminated glass atmosphere. It's some of the wildest things I've ever experienced, and that's what I was like. I'm hooked now.
How wide is this glass coverage? This glass air coverage?
It depends on the wind, but like on the southern side of the volcano, it's like lush rainforest. On the northern side, it's a complete barren desert.
Jesus.
Like moonscape. Also within the jungle, there's no snakes, no frogs, no flowers, no fruit. It's highly acidic.
Yeah.
Not
habitable. Inhabitable.
No, but people live there and people grow up there, and like there's communities that live by the volcano their whole life.
Right.
And it's super lots of dear friends that I've made down there they grew up there, and they can drink the acid rainwater. I definitely cannot. It's amazing, how people adapt to hostile environments.
Fuck, it does blow my mind, man. I'm trying to, and one of the things like with my boys, I'm just trying to doing the best I can to broaden their worldview, and thankfully, with my wife and their mum just having an interest in geology, in particular with mineral formations, and from adjacent to that, you start to get a bit of an understanding of like what's actually happening, and it does get pretty wild, and it's almost like that. There's just so much that's going on that we're very much at the mercy to, but like what you were saying, we are highly adaptable over generations. Of course, you couldn't just pluck someone out and be like, "Here we go, let's just try to make this work." And it is just fucking mind-boggling how broad and expansive everything can be, and then yet we worry ourselves with like really trivial things, man.
Yeah, mammals are pretty naughty as a species. Now we're like the largest, biomass. Within 3 generations of adaptation, there's a good case study within Arctic foxes. So from the wild, they take a selected group of Arctic foxes, and then within 3 generations, their tails get fluffier, the noises they make get like cuter on the human perspective.
Okay.
They develop eyebrows to be able to communicate with humans better. That's in 3 generations.
Hang on. So foxes have adapted to be more appealing to humans.
Yeah,
For what purpose?
Food, obviously.
Okay, as in for domestication?
Yeah. That's
Right.
within 3 generations.
Right.
And also that extrapolates to humans within environment. Like, mammals are the quickest adapters within evolution. That's why we're everywhere now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's just one of those things that, like, if we know, instead of having to endure extreme temperatures, we just know how to make it lighter and more palatable.
Yeah.
As well.
We're good at homogenizing, environments.
And putting up 4 walls and, air conditioning and gas stove, stove tops. Cooking food was a bit of a game changer.
It'd be mega. It's been funny the last year. I mean, to delve in that further with humans going, building their houses, and then clothing systems, and then jewelry, and then art, and then like culture building from that whole thing. Going back into more of the art side of things. The last year I've been trying to learn more glass blowing, more like lost wax brass casting, and more marble, and working with like molten formats in like multi-medium molten formats, and trying to merge them all together, which is a good fun challenge.
Do you think that that's just the way that we're going to be going? That the more that we lean into all these, I guess, more fleeting and digital creations, that on the other end of that, on the equal and opposite end, that we just have a growing desire to reconnect back? I've been finding that's to be the case, but it could also just be my bias.
I think people yearn for like nature's solace and the connection to Earth more than we go into this like digital epoch now, where it is quite shallow and cold, and people want that deeper connection, even though they may not know it. Like taking your shoes off and walking on the grass is super simple, but it's super nourishing. Also, like, bathing in dappled forest light. It's a thing that we're programmed like to give us internal solace. It's like within train stations in Japan, they play bird noises, because when there's no bird noises, internally our cortisol levels will rise, because it's a stress thing. It means there's predators around, so the birds aren't there. But it's this weird, like, layered, subconscious systems that we kind of is thrown to the side for concrete and boxes, but we're still internally governed by them.
Far out, man. I was in this apartment in Eureka Towers, pretty high up there, and looking down, there was like this existential sort of almost a crisis. But it was like, how did we get here? You know, like I'm looking around and there was all this wonderful architecture. You could see the 360 views of the cityscape. And there was nothing, it was awe-inspiring because you can think like, fuck it, like there was just generations and generations of built-up knowledge, like centuries of knowledge for us to be able to construct these things. Building this ginormous skyscraper for us to be able to live in, an elevator to take me up there. And I'm just standing there thinking, I have invested all my trust that this is going to work, right? I'm standing here thinking that this is okay. But then it's like, how do you actually live in these confinements and have it be, yeah, it's fine. Yeah. It's like, I don't know. I don't know if it's actually fine. I don't know if, I don't think that we're supposed to be living that way, but yet that just seems to be, that just seems to be the way that we have progressively moved towards. And it gets me thinking, it's like, if we do have these natural inclinations, how have we just incidentally moved so far away from them?
I guess like it stems from early propagation and when humans stopped being nomadic and started planting and then having renewable food systems that they could not move around for. And then from there, the Eureka Tower is a byproduct of that. With lots of stages in between.
Yeah, dude, do you reckon that there's a point where like that there is a point of like, nah, it's too far?
Definitely. I think there's a schism within Homo erectus where then everything changed. And now we're in this march of progress into something that, who knows what's going to happen. Yeah,
that whole was like, we were asking ourselves too many times if we could, whether or not we should.
Totally. And humans are pretty naughty. Like we're really inquisitive and probably don't know how to behave. On a larger, scale.
Yeah.
Within nature hums a beautiful chorus, and then we're there, just then I'm steaming in the corner.
Dude, I wonder then, like with your worldview, having been in so many different places, and I've spoken with many different people from all walks of life. What is the commonality that grounds the people that are far removed from the world that we know it as? I mean, when I say we, you have a different worldview, but I suppose that for us living in metro cities that are, I guess, like trying to do a 9 to 5 or trying to get by in this the economy that we're in, what is it that the people that are removed from that, what's the commonality that they have that keeps them there away from having to do this?
I guess it's self-reciprocal dopamine systems. So like if you can, for example, the Japanese term ikigai, so having like external purpose through practice or work, and it's provides a service to other people, but also generates internal dopamine that's sustainable in the loop, and it's financially viable. So if you can find out a way to create that system, then it makes breaking away from that structure, like you mentioned, a bit more realistic and in a sustainable loop rather than just something around in the dark, I guess.
But it's just that financial viable thing. I think that's the thing that gets me, because it's like financial viable to what end, for what means as well, right?
Like all the money I make just goes straight back into doing more stuff. Like all of it. Making art's it's expensive. And like I find it now cheaper to travel than it is to, have a house, have a studio, have all these things. I live out of a Pelican case with 50 kilos. And I find that cheaper than locking down into a more stable format. But growing up in complete chaos as a kid, I find more stability in that chaos, I think that's where it's different.
More stability in chaos. Is it just being able to appreciate, or just accepting that you don't know what's coming ahead? Yeah,
and also like I've got a pretty overactive mind, so having more stimulation, more friction generates more, calm, I guess. Rather than being in a calm environment, my brain just goes into the opposite. Self-subterfuge.
It could just be that is just the, not just for you, but I think that when you're talking about like all these other cultures and all these other tribes, like for them is every day is going to be having to, it's a matter of survival.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then there is that whole like we have to go out there and almost catch our feet.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's very hand to mouth, but also within that, like, those very isolated pockets of remote communities. One example is in Mount Yasser. There's a cargo cult. So an American military plane misdropped a couple of crates, and then the local people were like, "Oh, obviously that came out of the volcano." And now there's every Friday night on the other side, on the western side of the vent system, there's a nightly festival bowing down to the volcano, which is a portal to America. And they have this 24-hour party being like, "Thank you for this portal to America," because they presume that all these gifts are pouring out of the volcano. They also believe that Prince Philip is Nivan, which is also amazing. It breeds these strange systems when isolated pockets of humanity get together, and I find it intriguing.
Dude, I guess it works for him.
Yeah, No, I'm not there to judge. It looks like a good time.
So with all this data collection, how have you then taken that and created your artwork from that?
So, for example, taking LiDAR scans, handheld as well as aerial, and then...
What are you using?
A bunch of stuff. For this recent survey in Shimoidake, we had a unmanned 3.5 meter helicopter with a pyroclastic magnetology sensor on the bottom, and then a bunch of other drones doing LiDAR scans, and then handheld stuff, then geophones, then sample analysis on the ground from different vents. But then turning those scans taking them into 3D programs like Blender and Unreal Engine, then turning them back into a 2D format, like grid mapping them, turning them back into a 2D format, then putting them through vinyl plotters and CO2 laser systems for engraving, and then, or for example, recently doing more like screen printing onto brass some of these frameworks, and then oxidizing with sulfur gathered from that volcano that the scans were taken from with the brass, and trying to tie it all back into like chemistry, alchemy, data analysis, and
crazy.
It's good fun.
I saw this piece that you just recently shared was I think it was from was brass from a mold.
Yep.
Would that have been extrapolated from the data that you had? Because it looked like a graph.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Could talk us through that process.
So that was from a scan in Japan from a few years ago. But then I worked for the last year quite a bit learning lost brass wax casting.
Yeah.
So it goes from, I'll make the file in a 3D program and then 3D print it with PLA. And then from that PLA we'll go from silicon mold. And then silicon mold, you start pouring wax. And then you take out the wax and you cover that in a soil like substrate. And then from there you've got 10 of them, and you pour 1400 degree molten brass into these, and then smash the soil mold, and then you've got a brass replica. It's just a multi-part process. It's so time consuming, but lots of fun.
Go even further back, right? So you have this data, and you need to then collate numbers into a visual form. And then in some cases it will be a 3-dimensional form, and in some cases a 2-dimensional form. Within
like animation stuff, so you'd gather a lot of LiDAR scans by hand as well. So we're abseiling into active volcanoes, and then abseiling in the jungle with generators into the like glass lava tubes, the dormant ones. And these giant tunnels of glass with lights and scanning everything, and then take them into programs like Unreal Engine, build these like kind of with these worlds essentially, and then running like orthographic cameras through them with particle systems to replicate what's happening inside the Earth. And with the orthographic lens, it's kind of like layers of time punching through to show people what that kind of fly-through experience is, because we can't do that. We can't do that as humans physically, but we can do it mentally.
That's incredible, man. I'm wondering as well, because my brain's going to, when you're talking about these data sets and then translating them into palatable forms as art, right, in various ways. I'm thinking about like a few months ago, I started looking into creative coding.
Cool.
Yeah. Have you looked into that much at all?
Yeah. It's I'm not there in any way there yet, but I've dabbled. Yeah.
I'm not even at the dabbling stage. Mine was just trying to get my head around it, because it came at a time when it was like, okay, there is this evolution of art into this digital space, but there is also, I guess, like a tether to wanting to keep it human-made, right? Or at least formed or programmed in by hand, and letting the digital creation just do its own thing. And I'm wondering how this would translate if you have these numbers and putting them through whatever kind of coding system that you have created to create these like visualizations that are an extrapolation of the data, or even seeing what that would even sound like.
Totally. And you can run it through, just like sonic spatial stuff. Also, they've been using Touch Designer a lot for analyzing these large data sets. And then, running them through a bunch of different systems, so you've got a visual aspect from a bunch of sheet numbers.
Or fuck, dude, or even just getting AI, like punching them through AI and saying that translate this.
Yeah, it's a tricky one. I like it as a tool, but I don't like it getting into any of my creative nitty-gritty. But for like, what happens if I do this? Like, what temperature do I need this to be melted at? How long do I need to dry this for? Is this going to explode in my face if I mix zeolite with bronze? It's like, it's like, it's good for that kind of stuff because it's more streamlined than digging around for. But also, I don't really trust most of what it says. Because it can be a little bit too creative.
No, man. There is the trust issue, I think, comes because it conveys everything it's saying in a really confident way, like as in a very matter-of-fact way. And if you don't have the know-how to call it out, you're just going to accept it as truth.
It'll give you an answer. Like, it'll tell you what you might want to hear, but it might not be correct. Like.
I find in most cases it's not.
Yeah.
But when I say not correct, as in not necessarily accurate to a T, but it will kind of hover around the space that you're after.
Yeah.
But I think it's just where it gets me is just the delivery in its confidence in the audacity. But that could also just be looping it back to what we were saying earlier. That could just be a mirror of how we have programmed it, because we have lived the last however many hundreds and thousands of years with callousness and audacity to get to where we are. So if it is just a reflection of us, it has to be that way as a matter of survival.
Yeah, then it falls back on the creator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've found quite a lot, right? Because the way that you engage with AI is going to be largely different to how I would, and for all of us, right? And I don't think that there's really going to be many people that don't engage with AI in the at least in the circles that we will mix in within the creative space.
Definitely, it's been pretty interesting recently. Writing this curriculum and engaging within the university systems, and some of their AI stuff, what they're having to implement now with students is super interesting. Like the concessions and also the grading systems that they have for picking up on people that are just giving AI papers. Like, it's going to be interesting the next few years within,
it feels unavoidable
curriculum.
though.
Oh, totally. It's all part of it, and it's not going anywhere.
How would that affect education?
I mean, our little toes just in the deep ocean, like, so to speak, now we're like just entering into it. So the next 5 years, it's going to be pretty interesting. I think there's going to be a lot more programs that are going to be needed for analysis on, AI cost
Trying
referencing.
to catch people out?
Yeah.
I wonder though, like, then where would that line seems to be blurred from trying to catch people out versus actually implementing and embracing it.
Yeah, it's a funny one. Like I know I use it a lot for grant writing, just because my brain isn't geared that way.
Yep.
And also I don't want to writing grants is super boring.
It's one of those things, man, where I think that AI is perfect for that, because the people that are going to be reading them really just need to have this, and this, and this.
Yeah, just going through a tick, 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 tick,
yeah.
tick. Yeah,
And they're going to just run it through a processor that's going to be picking up on keywords anyway.
Yeah, it's such a strange dance.
It is just like another layer that we've just added into it. I saw this post on LinkedIn where it was a bit of this guy was just put a screenshot of an email that he received, and he was framing it as a bit of a gotcha, like, you wrote this with AI kind of thing. It's like, yeah, but no shit, man. It's like, who's not? Like, isn't like what? Otherwise, what are we doing, right? Like, an email is one of those things where it's already lacked so much human context to it. What difference is it going to make to you if it's going to be generated by AI? The whole point of it is just for us just to quickly convey ideas and sentiment
totally
in a digital form. Like, it just seems to be the inevitable layer. But then it is just now like trying to find that balance. And I think that you're in this really interesting space where you're dealing with all these data sets that has been collected with digital tools, and now having to translate those into a way that a human being can appreciate and understand it.
It's that like empathetic system going from quite dry, cold substrate into more tactile analog formats, so that people can, anchor emotional worth and interaction into. It's a fun one.
Emotional worth.
Yeah. Or like empathy, like into object, and like you engaging with something empathetically, and then they also in turn giving you back that kind of nourishment.
That's an interesting point, man, because you're just taking something which is just raw numbers and distilled down to a really dry form, and then trying to put a layer of emotion into that.
It's a fun weaving process. Like, also, next week I've got a collaboration with a glassblower down in the peninsula, and we're working on this series of hand-blown glass forms. He's a wizard, fifth generation amazing artist. But yeah, trying to replicate like lava systems with glass and hand-blown glass. And how do you make people feel from that into an object? Also within like weight systems, like physical weight breeds, emotional worth. Also like within a vessel, say when a vessel's heavier, you're more likely to invest more time analyzing the liquid in it. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
no.
say if something's heavier in your hand, like say a glass,
right,
you're more likely to engage like subtle nuances within the liquid, say the wine or whatever. Well, then like with like physical weight comes emotional worth. And there's little things like that within like human analysis systems that like you can kind of piggyback on.
Would it be that because heavier, when you're saying that weight equals worth, but that doesn't necessarily mean that heavier is worth more, though. No.
But also within like metals, it's like for example, I can have a bar of aluminium that's this big.
Yeah.
It's giant ingot, and then I can also have a tiny bar of brass that's this big, and they weigh the same weight.
Yeah.
And like playing with those systems is quite fun. Like handing someone either thing and be like, oh whoa. It's like when people hold gold, they're like, oh, this has so much weight and worth. But I think whether that's man-made worth or is it just physical weight.
Do you think that's something intrinsic?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Not cultural?
Probably a mix, yeah. There's like little things like that, which I find intriguing to play with whilst trying to convey those, more emotional anchors, if you will.
So how does that loop back into the glass blowing?
It's super heavy, but also like that's just one element of it, one element of those systems. And also within like recently I've been playing a lot with onyx.
Yeah.
And marble. I went to the largest marble factory in Asia last year, and left with about 150 kilos of different types of rare stones. And that weight system, like doing 45 kilos carry on in a tiny bag, like my forearms just hemorrhaging.
Marble it's stupid heavy. You do not understand how heavy the thing is until you just try to move a piece of marble.
Crazy.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful. Like,
aesthetically, yeah. Practically, it's very fragile.
yeah, it's very soft. It's actually a really soft
Yeah.
stone for how heavy it is.
Yeah.
Like tomorrow, I'm jumping in the lab where our friend's got some CO2 lasers, and we're going to do some onyx engraving for these new light box systems. So like multi-tiered light boxes with translucent onyx in the back that's been lasered, and then glass, and then brass, and these like multi-tiered systems.
Dude, I'm just so fascinated by where your brain goes with some of these ideas, man. It almost just seems like as soon as you start introducing these elements of not just the materials that you're using, but by trying to bring it all back and convey these natural systems, it really opens up the fucking possibilities, right? Like you're already in this space. Now, given your background, that you're not bound by geographic location, right? You have the freedom just to go wherever. Not even just you have the freedom. That's your lane. You move towards that, as in like you feel more liberated by not having been tethered to anywhere, and that seems obvious. But by trying to absorb more and forming these connections with different places and different people, the way that you think about your work is so layered and so broad and almost limitless. Like it just seems like that, you know, before when you're explaining all these different just that brass mold, just hearing that was like, how did you get from this point to that point? But it just seemed like such a natural progression for you to eventually get it to this. I've got this data now. I've got this brass sculpture.
I guess, you know, inquisitive minds. You got to new mediums constantly, new stimulation, new learning. I figure if you're not afraid and hungry, then you're not living. If you're too comfortable within, like, oh, I know this, or you know, I'm the best I am, right now, then I feel like you start going backwards.
But it's like for you, it's a disposition, right? It's not anything that seems to be. I don't know. Are you even consciously aware?
I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice in this. This is like I'm also just a byproduct of process. Like I'm not steering this ship, so to speak. You know, I feel like that. I feel like it's just I just let it consume me. And
so Finland in 10 days.
Finland in 10 days.
By the time this comes out, you're probably when does the semester start?
I'll be starting in end of Feb. So
end of Feb. Okay.
Yeah. So there's a bit of time beforehand, which will be lots of production.
And what does that time look like? What are you going to be?
As soon as I land, it'll be melting lots of brass in the snow, which is quite dangerous. Trying to regulate moisture, because you can't have any moisture near molten brass, otherwise it'll explode. So it's going to be an interesting one. And fabrication time. So jumping into 3D printing and sand casting and for this museum, and then doing 6 very, very large paintings to go hang in there as well, and a bunch of other animation stuff for different screens that will be around the place.
Is this for the museum?
Yeah.
Right.
Should be fun. But it's going to be a lot of work, which is good.
Are there other people involved in this curating or putting together this museum?
No.
It's all entirely your work?
Yeah.
So it's just going to be a Benjamin Nock museum?
Pretty much.
Dude.
on like the geophysics and uplift of Finland. So I've been working with the owner for the last 6 months, back and forth on concept, and he's like, I want it to be about energy. I was like, cool, let's focus in on which aspect, because it's a very broad subject. And I was like, obviously, geoenergy is a focus of mine, and also within Vasa in Finland, that's their focus is geoenergy. And I was like, oh, let's highlight the uplift in Finland, which has the largest uplift in the world. So every 100 years, it's 7 meters. So people that used to have houses on islands now have houses on hills. To put it in perspective,
Every how many years is 7?
every 100 years is 7 meters,
7
and that's
meters
increasing. So when the last glaciers ice age melted in Finland, all the weight and pressure came off the plate. So now it's rising.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's crazy. So that's what the museum's going to be based about. It's pretty fun. It's a very strange landscape. Lots of glacial tears and giant boulders that have been dragged through different ice ages.
On the surface level, looks very alien.
Yeah, it's super flat, and lakes everywhere. And it'd be fun, creating something that's artistically engaging for people that want to be anchored in the space rather than just raw information. So make it visually engaging and immersive within soundscapes and other things, but also having the rooting in it as solid educational data.
Do you play much with sound?
Oh yeah. I work with a few different producers.
Yourself?
I don't do any. I capture a lot of sound. I capture heaps of sound, like soundscapes and geophone recordings and all kinds of stuff. But I am not on the other end. I've got way too many hobbies. I recently working on a project with a producer called Ilya. We have this new album coming out that's based around, made from all different geophone recordings and soundscapes captured in active volcanoes around the globe. But with a 12-track album with paired visuals. It should be fun. And I also work with a producer called Joshkin in Melbourne, he's incredible when it comes down to building these soundscapes that are usually at all my shows or immersive things. Like I have a new project coming up with Pitch next month, and all kinds of, there's so many mediums, and a new perfume range coming out. And it's a lot going on, but it's lots of fun.
Perfume range.
Yeah, using sulfur and different materials from volcanoes into creating different notes of perfume, and mixing ambergris as anchor systems, and also the plants that grow from those volcanoes, like Japanese sugi and other things. So it's full of, rather than just going in, here's a purely visual thing, I'd rather walk into a space and be visuals, sonics, feelings, smells, tastes. There's so many ways to access people's thought processes.
Yeah, and then when they all come together, there's a synergy there as well.
Yeah, and a continuity within medium, I think is fun. Extrapolating ideas over multi-medium structures and having continuity within that just creates more engagement for different people.
Far out, dude. That's a lot.
It's good fun.
Dude, I'm absolutely just floored by how deep all this runs. It seems like you have this essence about your work, and you're just trying to find different avenues and how you can convey that.
Yeah, essentially.
And it all really does translate. I think that there's any artist, full stop, has the capacity to try and explore different areas. If you're able to express in this particular way, there's nothing stopping you from then taking that essence and then gearing it in this particular direction.
Definitely.
So I love seeing that. That's what you're doing, man.
I mean, it's a good challenge, but it keeps the cogs moving, and it's fun to dance in multiple spaces. I feel the way it works within my systems is, it generates more dopamine, therefore more workflow, more. I thoroughly enjoy it. It's the only reason why I do it. And if you're enjoying something, you're going to do more of it. And it doesn't seem like work, even though you're doing 3 times more work than anyone else. It's not work if you're enjoying it. If you can keep it fun, if you can keep the systems fun, then you'll be able to produce more work. And it's that fine cycle balance of work, play. But if you start merging them together, it's a
Mate, I've been just so enthralled by this conversation, and I'm glad that it just really opened my eyes up to a lot of, I guess, the depth of your practice, and not just the depth, but how broad it actually is. I went into this kind of when we started talking about how your involvement with volcano exploration. It went from being like incredibly interested to then being really daunted by the prospect of just standing face to face with a volcano, and then now it's back to being like, fuck, I really do feel like I want to check this out, man.
Come with. I've got a retreat, a volcanic retreat, coming up in December. I'm going to take a few people to see their first
Where
volcano.
at?
In Yassa, in Vanuatu.
In December.
Yeah, I'll send you some details.
Oh, please do, man. That gives me that's a decent runway to
And I
start.
think it could, bring your boys. It'd be a pretty life-changing experience.
Fine.
I wish I'd been around that kind of stuff when I was that age. It'd be amazing.
Dude, definitely for sure, man.
Yeah.
Keep us in the loop with that. I'd be keen just to find out a bit more about it. But mate, all the best with everything going on in Finland
And
coming up for the next few months.
Thanks so much for having us. I've been a big fan for a long time. It's nice.
I
to sit down.
appreciate that, man. And we've been talking about this for quite a bit of time,
A
but
couple of years now. Yeah.
it has. But it's really hard to lock someone down when they're chasing volcanoes. So I'm glad that it's in between a couple of extracurricular stuff you've been working on. You've made the time to jump on, man.
It's perfect timing. Thanks for
Benjamin
having me.
Knock, thanks, mate.
Cheers.